everybody. Good morning, everyone. How you doing? How is been your week? Yes. How is your week going? It's been a very hectic one here. It's been a very busy week, and Ade is also under the weather. You can see my voice has changed. I think the weather is just showing me shaggy. As Nigeria is showing us shaggy, weather is also showing us shaggy here. So over the week, we saw what happened in the week. This week has been a very tough one for Nigerians. And the bandits, the killing here and there. We're not done with the Kebbi girls. We had the Kwara ones. The bandits visited the people in the Kwara. Now, the Niger State. And the rumor about the Nasarawa. Though the Nasarawa, I don't know if they're just trying to sweep it under the carpet. They've said they were armed hunters. We don't know how could we have armed hunters. Like, what are they doing in the city? So, and then people said they look like kidnappers. So now everybody's just living in fear. Everybody cannot sleep with their two eyes closed anymore in Nigeria. We don't know what to do about this. We're just calling on the government. Everybody has been, using their voice to make sure that the government understands what is going on and they help in this situation. We are calling on the right authorities, those people that suppose, or the minister in charge of defense. Please help the situation. And President Tinubu, please, Bobo call me, Mobino, Edaijiwa, Eba unconscious. And it's so terrible, like people now live in anxiety. Everybody in Nigeria now have one anxiety or the other. As that was also going on, so also the judgment of the long-awaited judgment of the IPOB leader, the separatist Nnamdi Kanu, was also delivered this week. You can see that this week is a very busy week. Like everywhere has just been buzzing here and there, here and there, here and there. So while we are also in that, we brought that judgment. A lot of controversies have been also raised immediately after that judgment, and people were saying that the judgment was not fair. They felt that there are others, that it was just an IPOD person, he's not a terrorist. That the real terrorists are on the streets, they are roaming about, and nobody has picked them. Over the time, this has always been one dialogue or the other. You always went to dialogue with the IPOB, the other terrorists in the north. Hold on 1 minute. So that we've always had opportunity to dialogue with the other terrorists, the so-called terrorists, and but when it came to this person, they delivered their judgment. It's been over 10 years that they've been on this case. From one issue to the other, to the extent they had to go arrest him and put him in detention from Kenya for the past 4 years. So he has been in their detention. Why did they wait this long to deliver the judgment? And do you think this has a political undertone? Do you think there's more to it? So these are many more we'll be discussing today. Why do you think this judgment is going to bring separation between us and our brothers in the southeast? Do you think this is fair? Maybe because of the sit-at-home order that he gave people? Or could it be because of the transmit, the radio station he started? What could have led to this life in prison? What is that grievous offense that he committed? I don't think in any of this thing that he said he has ever killed anybody. I've never heard or read that he has ever killed. I stand to be corrected. I may not be up to date on this story because it's been a while that we've been on it. It's been for the past 10 years, so I might have lost count of his offenses. But they just concluded judgment. They said he had 7 count charges, which was probably being a member of IPOB. So all members of IPOB, your eyes are on you. So, and I don't think he should be sentenced. Though there's room for appealing, it can still be appealed. It's better than death sentence. Though our judges was preaching for us that he's having mercy on him, and that's why he's using the Bible during the court, that God pleaded that we should have mercy on others. That's why he gave him life imprisonment. And people are saying that double standard to this issue. The real terrorists, the non-terrorists that are disturbing us, the Boko Haram people, they were never sentenced to life imprisonment. Rather, they rather sit down, have a dialogue with them, be on a round table, discuss the way forward, and some of them are even on a payroll as from the government. And even Gumi said, if you talk to them, to the terrorists, that if you give them money, they will be able to protect our forests. While Nnamdi Kanu, that was just minding his business, just calling people for separation. He just wants to separate the Southeast from the whole Nigeria, which I don't see any issue here that could have warranted life imprisonment. So this will be discussing, and I stand to be corrected though. So what's your opinion? I'm trying not to be biased here, but this is my personal opinion. The dialogue will have been better. What are your pain points? Why do you want to separate? These are many more should have been discussed and look for way forward. We have the people who were also calling for Yoruba nation. People are clamoring for, the Arewa to have their own people. So Nigeria itself is separated unless you're just lying. We're just under one umbrella, but within our tribe, we are separated. Everybody have their own name to call to themselves. And looking at this issue now, what do you think is going to cost the whole nation? But because there's this terrorist ongoing, people are a little bit quiet on the Nnamdi Kanu's judgment, especially on the social media. But the news continues. They're all on the news. So these are many more we'll be discussing while I wait for my other calls to join us. Don't grab your popcorn, grab your drinks, and let's dive into this conversation as a layman. Maybe you've heard the news. Everybody has been speaking grammar, this English, big English, and you don't understand. Trust me, here we're going to break it down for you, maybe to understand, so you can catch up with this conversation. And Nnamdi Kanu's judgment. Do you think it's a fair judgment or it's political? It's more political. So this will be discussing and analyzing and see what the impact of this is going to be on the nation. Do you think it's just a political, maybe during the next election, they will now release him so that he can get sympathy from the North Southeast? Or do you think now that nobody's going to vote for this current administration because of this issue? Nobody from the South is going to vote for this current administration, according to Chief Priest. What's that guy's name? Kubana Chief Priest. No, Obi. I don't know. These two names here look alike. But anyway, that other one, that big one, was the one who said it, that the people of the country will not vote for, like, if President Tinubu get 10,000 food from Southwest, then it must be the other people from maybe the Yoruba people in the Southeast. But left to them, that nobody is going to vote for him in the next coming election. And do you think this one will yield good results? So let's see what we have. Let me see other hosts who are here so we can get connected. We can get started, we'll connect and reflect on this topic as a layman person. If you were to be the judge, what will you say? What were your expectations? Do you think they should let him go and say, go and sin no more? Or do you think this is the right. Hold on. Okay. So do you think the judgment will affect the people living in the southeast? Would this bring separate the Nigerian, knowing that it was a Yoruba judge who judged this case? Was that intentional to make a Yoruba man be the judge over this case? Was that okay? Was it because of that? So what do you see? What's gonna happen? Thank you for watching us. Thank you for being part of this conversation. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining. We appreciate. So we're just waiting for other co-hosts. They will be right here on time. In the next minutes, they will be here. And we can get going. Okay. Will this bring tension to the nation, or it's going to bring peace now that they are and they didn't even put him here in Lagos or in nearby Kirikiri. They took him all the way to the north, so that he will be far away from friends and family, and far away from people who can easily come over to check on him or see him or plan anything. I don't know why that was done. I don't know. They're just trying to be mean towards him. Oga Ayele. Ayele. Aye mama leo. So Nnamdi Kanu's judgment, do you think it's a fair judgment? Do you think it makes sense? I think he was given the 7-count charges, like the incitement via broadcast. I think he went on their radio TV station inciting people against Nigeria. Also being a member of IPOP. So other members of IPOP's eyes are on you. So they said it's a violent enforcement of sit at home. Like he enforced people to sit at home. It make them to sit at home. And told them that if you are coming out, if you open your shop, even the judge read that that read his voice. I think it's broadcast. The judge read it in the court, and it quoted the Bible saying it was just going to be merciful on him, and that he was not going to give him a death penalty, because that was what people were expecting. That instead of death penalty, that he was going to just give him life imprisonment. So people are not even talking about life imprisonment. Like, the other terrorists are on the streets. They are still disturbing the Kwara state. They are in the Niger state. They are already roaming in Nasarawa. None of them has gone to life imprisonment. The real terrorists, the Boko Haram, are still, roaming around. Our Kebbi girls are still in bondage. They are still somewhere. Nobody has, gone for those terrorists. And now we're here. You are calling our IPOP leader a terrorist. What does it mean to make what does terrorism mean? Maybe we need to understand that. Hi, how are you? Okay. You're welcome. Ẹ káàbọ̀. Ṣàlàáfíà ni o. Ọlọ́run ṣeun. How are you doing? Hi, my love. How are you doing today?
I'm in the car.
Okay. I could hear him say hi. So we be able to talk while driving or
Uh, well, I can talk.
okay.
Yeah.
So we're talking about we saw the judgment that happened this week, and a lot of controversies came up with it. The Southeast were not happy. Some even the Southwest too found that that judgment was harsh. So it becomes, the issues on the national TV that what led to that. Despite the scam charges, none of it has to do with, live. I don't think any live was taken during his involvement. He just asked people to stay at home, and he had the broadcasting videos, inciting people against the government. So do you think giving him life imprisonment was fair or it was just too much?
Olóòtú, ẹ rí ètò tẹ́ gbé wá láàárọ̀ yìí, ètò tó lè tètè kò báyàn ni o. But the thing is, uh, I mean, objectively, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know anything about the law. But treating it based on the justification of the court, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to say it's unfair, which people can argue that it's unfair. I don't know why people would say it's unfair. Um, it's another thing to note that whoever is what is the word now? Whoever is administering that justice did not just say it alone from his mouth. He has to look through some evidences that we, the populace, we don't have access to.
Mm-hmm.
So as much as I don't want to say categorically that, oh yeah, it's fair, and I don't want to say, oh, it's unfair. I'd say that the best thing to say is, well, it's the law that the person that gave him this judgment interpreted. And of course, like the things of the law, every judgment can be appealed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is one side. The other thing to it is, you mentioned there were no deaths. There were no, just saying things. I mean, I'll disagree with that. I
Okay.
didn't witness it firsthand, but we all saw what was going on with the sit at home. There were the time that we had unnamed gunmen. We don't know who the unknown gunmen were, but those were to some point, and then there were videos of people perpetrating terrorism in a way, and still mentioning his name as their hero. You
Mm.
understand? And at the time that he was doing his broadcast, he was basically inciting broadcast as well. And when
Mm-hmm.
these unknown government people were calling him as their hero, he did not debunk it. There were times that he said, "Oh, destabilize the country is a zoo," and all of that. Those were things that you can be that is traceable to you as a person. So if they now say that you're a terrorist, you're sponsoring terrorists, to me, your police vocal whatever had placed you right in the midst of that. Now the question is, if someone that is convicted of terrorism or terrorism funding, is it the provision of the law to give them life sentence? The
Mm.
answer is yes. So we can argue whether it's fair or not, but the law itself states what if I mean it was left to his defense team to prove beyond reasonable doubt that he's not financing terrorism, that he's not a terrorist. If they
Okay.
did, if they could not do that, then yes, they will convict him. And the other thing to it is, he was. I mean, I saw some clips, right? he was still, I don't want to use the word arrogant, but he was still proving a point even after he was handed the sentence. So to me, I mean, that's not, you're basically going against the system, and you think you're going to win the system by being arrogant. No, it's not possible now. So again, everything that I said is based on my observation as someone that is
Why
inside.
why are you giving disclaimer now?
I need to give disclaimer because Nigerians were emotional upset of people.
Why are you giving this?
Rationality is not our strong suit in Nigeria, because I've heard people say, oh well, the terrorists that are taking people, they are not getting life sentence. They are integrating them back into the system. Well, that's a different thing. If you want to fight that are doing that, fight that. We cannot overlook a wrongdoing because another wrongdoing is being permissible or being permitted rather. You understand? When the time comes, if you want to revolt and say, okay, next time you pick a terrorist bandit, instead of integrating them, kill them. You're right. You have every right to do that. But you can't use a wrong to justify another wrong.
Okay.
It's like Yahoo boys saying that why is EFCC going after Yahoo boys when they should be going after politicians? Yes, they should be going after politicians, but does that mean that Yahoo boys should be let go? No.
So no, the concern here is compared to other terrorists. Okay, let's assume he's a separate. He's more of a separatist than a terrorist, but they call him a terrorist. Let's stay with that terrorism. Compared to other terrorists that has done a lot of killing, abduction, none of them have been sent to life imprisonment. Why pick on him? The same law that could sentence others, have that luck with them, sit them on the table and have conversation with them, put them on the payroll, and when it became Kanu's own, so do you think the law is biased on that?
So the law against him is not biased. The law against those people is biased. And that's why I said it are two different things. You cannot say, oh, I stole, someone else stole. Why did they arrest me and did not arrest the other person that stole? You stole, you should be arrested. The other person that stole should be arrested. The problem is not that you were arrested. The problem is that the other person was not arrested. That's the point that I'm making. You can't justify wrong by another wrong that is being permitted.
Okay, thank you. You're welcome, Adesheko and Tayo. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So what's your stand on the judgment? Do you think the judgment was fair? Tayo.
The thing is that there is nothing to me that is wrong with the government or Nnamdi Kanu. There are things that what
Your network.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now it's clearer.
Good. I said that there's not anything wrong with the judgment. We understand that he has actually allowed some in some part of the country, not of this. But then, what is actually good for the bees is actually good for the gander. The other day, I was asking lawyer that why the Nnamdi Kanu sentenced to life imprisonment and the leader of the Haram given 20 imprisonment. And the person replied that it's just political. And
So Tayo, your network is breaking. Am I the only one?
the judicial system in a bad light because
Network in your dad. Tayo, your network is not strong yet. So while we wait for Tayo, I just go.
He
Yeah.
said you don't hear me.
Yeah, it goes back and forth like it just sometimes we'll hear you and it goes again like that. So you wanna go and come back? So Tayo, I just
Yes.
what's the stand of the
You are come
judgment?
back.
Well, for me, I would say, do you want to mute from there because of the echo? Okay, so I would say it's not a a case that we can easily say yes or no of whether his judgment was fair or not. But crimes were committed. That's the fact. Crimes were committed that as a result of some of his broadcasts, as a result of his instructions, crimes were committed. His claim is that he did not directly commit those crimes, but unfortunately, people responded to his broadcast, and those crimes were committed, and lives were lost. And if you are directly or indirectly involved in a crime, right, you are liable to be held accountable. But also another reason why I feel like it's not a case that we can easily just say um yes is fair, no it's not fair, is because the origin of his case is a fight for liberation. Yes, it's a fight for liberation. He was trying to fight for his people. His methods, for me, I do not accept, but he claims that he was pushed to use that method. And that was during the time of the late President Muhammad Buhari, when he was, I think, released from the court, and then he was almost assassinated. You understand? So as a result of that, he had to leave the country. And when he left the country, his broadcast became more violent. And in the course of his broadcast, he said many things that he could not prove. He made many claims, even about the late President Buhari, that he could not prove. And some people say that it's it's as a result of people like him's involvement that the End SARS protest was sabotaged. That people started killing in some areas, and they started saying burn this, burn that, and some of these broadcasts were actually presented in court. So, but now saying the argument, just like Brotunde said, the argument that because some people who engage in terrorism have not been prosecuted and arrested, it does not mean that it does not make him innocent. In my opinion, because those people have not been prosecuted does not make him innocent, and that's the truth. And the person who was almost similar to him had to escape. Sunday Igboho had to escape. If he was not escaped, maybe if he did not escape and he was able to probably find a way to stay, he would probably have been arrested. And I think Sunday Igboho learned a lesson from him. When Sunday Igboho escaped to Germany, he could as well have continued to broadcast from Germany. He could as well continue to be involved, you know, in the fight for liberation, and continue to encourage violence. You understand? But he went and he stayed mute. So people died even in the southeast. Today, the reason why the southeast cannot go out on Mondays is as a result of his instruction. You understand? So I think there's no easy way to say it's say yes or no that it's a fair or unfair trial. I personally feel like the better solution would have been a political solution to the problem. Yeah, I think political solutions have been employed in different aspects of security challenges over the years. The militant political solution was employed, and I think the worst part of it is that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu fell into a trap. I think him making sure that that case was tried at this time was a trap. I think the wisest thing that President Buhari did was to delay the case. delay the case, because there's no judgment that anybody is going to give regarding that case that is not going to cause controversy. There's no judgment anybody is going to give that is not going to cause serious political turmoil and even security turmoil like we are experiencing today. But I think that a better solution could be found. I still feel like a better solution will be found. So I don't think it's easy to say it's a fair or unfair judgment. I mean, people died as a result of as a result of his broadcast. But I think in his defense, he wouldn't have been in a space where he would need to broadcast those things from the UK if the soldiers did not invade his house and try to take him out. He was forced to go. And then, going by the law, according to him, there are a lot of discrepancies of how how the case was handled. First of all, it is stated in international criminal law that you cannot just move somebody like that without asking for there's a particular term that they use to extradition, without asking for him to be extradited to the country. It is being said that he was just bamboozled from Kenya and brought down to Nigeria against his own will, and it's against the ECOWAS agreement and even International Criminal Court for anybody to be treated that way. It feels like his fundamental human right was breached. But I mean, his colleague Simon Ekpa has also been convicted in Finland. Another one that does something similar. There's one Godson. His name is Godson. I don't remember his first name. He's an agitator for Yoruba Nation. He has also been convicted where he is. So I think everybody could read between the lines that the possibility that he will be convicted is very high. But the man holds so much influence that the best solution would have been for them to look for a political solution. Yeah.
I agree
Okay.
with I agree with everything that Jashek said, and I want to quickly add something that in comparing his case with the bandits and all of that, we need to realize that sometimes when the government look at these things, right, it's more about what impacts will each of these have, right? What is the clear need, the request that is presenting, other than sedition, right? Which to me is, in the eye of the country, is a more serious case than the issue of the bandit. And again, the bandit to the country is more of a scattered cell. There is no clear case of, oh, we are the leaders of the bandit and we are making this demand. But he made himself a leader, and that kind of puts a target on his back, basically. Uh, and then in regards to the political solution that Mr. Ajashegno said, I believe that it was more of um, um, what is this Yoruba saying? Type thing. Like Jashegno said, that there's no judgment that will be taken lightly. If they release him, there will be problem. If they don't release him, there will be problem. So that's what I see to it. And at the end of the day, there's probably going to be a form of clemency for him, which is going to be a political score for the presidency, again, targeting the East. So that's what I strongly believe would happen in this case.
So, talking about the speech, Tayo, what's the broadcast that he did? What's the thin line between the freedom of speech and incitement against the government?
Like I said before, I heard somebody saying something sometimes ago that freedom of speech is actually free. But freedom after speech is what is not guaranteed, which means while you are being given the freedom to make whatever you want, you have to be careful as to how you say it, so that you don't actually put yourself in some legal compromise. Alright? So, in as much we have freedom of speech, it is important to note that you cannot use your freedom of speech to create a sedition in a constituted nation. Alright? Because like I said, I was talking to someone, like a lawyer, the other day. I was like, okay, let's assume what he committed was treason and it's punishable according to the law. And like every other person said, which I agree to, which, well, to a large extent, the judgment is actually right for what he has done. But looking at what is happening in the north and how terrorists have been restored back to the nation, it's actually made compromise the judiciary sort of. And recently, we've seen these bandits coming online to say things, TikTok, and it actually gives one concern that does it mean that these people cannot be tracked? Because even they say despicable things too. So if we are going to be holistic about some certain things, even if you have to detain these people too, and at least let the world know that you are taking a proactive measure, all right, concerning it, and you are not being biased in your judgment. Because as it is now, people feel that the judiciary has been compromised, all right. So the thing about what he has said, going back to Nnamdi Kanu, the thing he has said has actually caused a lot of things. A lot of people are scared of going home to the east. We've had the issue of unknown government killing people, and sometimes people might not be able to do some certain things until they have a leader who gives them encouragement. Words are very powerful. So when you are given freedom of speech, I think it is also important for you to know that you have to be careful with that speech so that you don't put the country, your society that you live in some kind of trouble. Because really it's something else in the east. It's actually something else.
Tayam, because your network was good. I heard some of what you said, but the audio was not as sharp as we used to have you there, like that. So the network is crazy. So my Shegun, well, maybe by the time we come back to Tayo, our network will be stronger. How
Right.
do you think the judgment will affect the people living in the southeast? Ajeshegun.
Yeah, look, I don't even think that it's going to affect only people living in the southwest. I think it's even going to affect everybody. And that's why I said that I think President Bola Ahmed Tinubu really, really either has a plan or he has just fallen into probably the biggest trap. The government, can you see that just a few days preceding the judgment until after the judgment, there's been constant and a hike in issues of kidnapping around the country. Yeah, there's been constant issues of kidnapping around the country. First of all, the Southeast is still battling with,
Hold on, how are you connecting it? Nnamdi and
yes,
the bandits. How are they coming together?
look, there's no coincidence as far as I'm concerned. There's no coincidence in this, in the way the whole thing has happened. People either are trying to intentionally sabotage the security situation of Nigeria, or there have been more influx of bandits and terrorists within that time frame. That's the truth. In fact, if you read, there's been several circulars going around that because of that judgment, that everyone who is traveling should ensure that they are very, very tactical with their travel this time. Already, the Southeast is battling with issues of Monday sit at home. Already, the ESN, the Eastern Security Network, has been branded as a terrorist group. Already, between the Fulani herdsmen, Mieti Allah, and the farmers across the whole nation, there's already tension, right? And then pronouncing this judgment is like telling the guys that they can go all out, against who they don't like. And I think that it's all directly connected to how kidnappings have been happening here and there. There are people who are trying to intentionally, you know, make sure that the country is not safe. Yes, that's and I think any serious-minded person will look at these recent events. So the point is everybody needs to be careful at this point in time. Everybody needs to be careful. In fact, utterances, with even utterances and with even the places you go to, the kind of conversations you have, because security has gotten very, very, very worse. There's nobody that is safe. There's nowhere that is safe, let alone now, even before the judgment was made, let alone now that the judgment was made. Yeah, so I think it's still it's a political solution that must be found, and they need to find it fast. They need to find it fast. Last time, it was a struggle to even hold elections in the East. The moment he has been apprehended, it was a major struggle to hold election in the East. And honestly, I really hope that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is able to find a, a political solution to it. The reason is because the tribal sentiment that has come into the conversation the moment he was convicted is crazy. It's crazy, the tribal sentiment that has come into the conversation. As we are here now, we have to be careful of our utterances. If we are not, to be said that it's because we are all Yorubas, right? If you say anything against him, it's to be said that it's because you are Yoruba. It's because people already singled out the judge that did the case. And one of the things I hate is when people start bringing division as a result of tribalism, right? So I really hope that I think that he has a point. I think that he has a point. I think about the point of him saying that even Ojukwu, who started the whole movement of Biafra, I think as much as their ideology is fantastic, that they feel like they are marginalized. I think that is something that you cannot avoid in a country where politics is not done on merit. Even till today, the zoning that we say we are doing is not on merit. It's not the best candidate that wins. It's the next candidate that wins. Even in a very established economy like the United States of America, there are still issues of, say, some people feel like they are being marginalized. The blacks feel like they are being marginalized. Yes. So, and why is that? It's because a point has come to which they feel like they also should be represented, irrespective of whether their own representative is the best candidate or not. And I still continue to say it until we come to a point in the country where we don't care about zoning, where actually the best man can actually lead and do the job. We would continue to have these issues. We'll continue to have these issues. The Igbo may likely not taste presidency for a long time, and it's not because they don't have competent people. It's because the whole constitution that talks about zoning is a flawed constitution. On my personal note, let the best man take the job, let the best man win the job. And check it out, even when President Obasanjo, when democracy came back, when President Obasanjo won, it was two Yoruba men that contested against each other. President Obasanjo and Olufalaye, they contested against each other. What does that tell you? It tells you that it was a compensation to the Yorubas because of the death of MKO Abiola. It does not mean that he was the best man for the job at the time. It does not mean that they were the best men for the job at the time. And subsequently, it had to move to the north. You are it. So unless we come to a point in our polity where the best man can get the job, irrespective of tribe, religion, and other sentiments, I think these issues will continue to linger.
And we have issue with that quota system. It's that it's a local candidate or quota system, and that has always we have always been using over the time. And zoning, okay, after you is you, not minding whether they are capable for the job or not. So coming back to the Nnamdi Kanu issue, do you think they did this for peace sake or it has a political undertone? Maybe because, I don't know. But Could you think that it's more of political than just to bring peace? And looking at this this guy's Obi Kubana, Obi Kubana chief priest, he made a point that that going forward, President Tinubu may not get a vote from the southeast. That if at all he will get very little. And do you think that is more political than just finding peace in the nation? Looking at what the guy posted, is
Yeah,
it
well,
speaking for the southeast? Yeah, was it
to
speaking
be
for them?
honest, I think he wasn't speaking for them. I think President Tinubu probably he has he has that covered because um Nigeria is practically running a one party system right now. What can stop him? That's who can stop him right now. You understand? So his tweet is inconsequential. Even in the election that I personally don't, I didn't vote for President Tinubu. I voted for Peter Obi. I'll probably do it again if he can tone down the the tribal his tribal voice and the religious. You shouldn't go and say it's a war against Christian. No, I don't like that point of view. If you can fix that, I'll probably vote for Peter Obi again. You understand? But if you look at the permutations that is currently happening, President Tinubu is preparing for a scenario where he won't need the vote of the Southeast. He didn't win Southwest in the last vote. You understand? He didn't need to win Southeast. You understand? So I think he is probably prepared for the worst case scenario. And I fear for the future of Nigerian politics. I fear for the future because President Tinubu is so smart in the politics, but I don't think he's looking at the long-term effect of some of the 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 policies that he has implemented just in a bid to win. I mean, this narrative of Christian genocide would not have been able to fly from his mouth. Tara, do you want to mute? I think there's an interference from your end. So this narrative of Christian genocide wouldn't have been able to fly if he didn't float the Muslim ticket. He wouldn't have been able to fly. He shouldn't have been able to fly if he didn't. Nigeria is a secular state. It has different religions represented there. You understand? And another thing that I love to reiterate is be careful when you throw stones. Be careful what you also wish other people because it may come back to you. Because President Tinubu was part of those who submitted a report to US during Goodluck Jonathan's time saying that there was Christian genocide. That report was not reviewed until now. And that report was reviewed. All evidences from then and now has now been tabled and is now been found that, okay, this is a case that we can look at. But back to Cubana Chief Priest, I think President Tinubu and I think what is currently happening in the opposition, in fact, there's no opposition now. I think the judgment may be inconsequential, but I really believe that President Tinubu would have a plan because, come on, you have not won first time, you have not won your second time. You're struggling to even grab a hold of things, and then this happens. He must have a plan of how he wants to deal with the matter out of court. Yeah.
Thank you. That man can be a master planner, so he must have strategized it. Even remember that during his time, he said just on first day, he had already removed subsidies, so everything is planned already. So Tayo, I don't know if your network is good now. How will you describe Nnamdi? Do you think it's a problem, just a troublemaker or a freedom fighter?
Well, I would think it's a king, a freedom fighter, but uh, following the rules of struggle. When you are actually, there's something that we're talking about.
Can somebody borrow me Tayo network? Oh,
I'm here.
where you want me to come?
I'm here. But I think there is
Okay.
a noise in the background.
Yes, now I
But it's
can
not
hear
my
you.
fault. All right, so I think he's a freedom fighter because the thing is that if you feel that your people are being marginalized and you say you want out, I don't think that that is actually that is a bad thing. But sometimes you have to be careful how you go about it. And the truth is that plenty of the times there is no way you go about it without entering into troubles. All right. There is no way you go about it without entering into troubles, especially when you declare yourself a winner. There is no freedom that does not cost people. All right. So, but it is also important that while you are toiling the road to your freedom, you will have to do it diplomatically. You have to be versed in the law, which I am sure Nnamdi Kanu is, because I got to understand that I think he studied law or something. That was why so he knows some few things about the law of the constitution of the country and how to navigate it. All right. So in for him, he actually make a trouble out of it, and it is not just a trouble for the country alone. It is also a trouble in the community where he once liberated. All right. Because the issue of seat at home is, as much as it will affect the country, is also affecting that community and the people in that community. So I think that is actually problematic. Because if you say you want freedom for them and you are already retrieving some form of freedom from them violently, then you are not toiling the path of peace, even with your people. All right. There was a time I was speaking to someone from the east and was like, she's scared of going home. That I think maybe his uncle or someone he knows was tired of the Monday sit at home. That okay, if I use Monday to sit at home, when am I going to make business and make money? So the person went to his shop, and the person just sat in front of the shop, so to say, and the person was dragged and killed. So it is actually a situation that is actually not palatable, sort of. And me personally, I feel that if you want freedom for your people, you should not restrict your own people from the freedom you are fighting for them to have. Because okay, you say that you want freedom for your people, and then you are restricting their movement. They are killing the same people you are fighting for. To some extent, it doesn't make logical sense. So he has actually not really toyed this road in the best of ways. All right. So I think he's more problematic than actually fighting for the right, the right of his people. I rest my case here.
So Tayana, if you were the judge over this case, how will you think? What punishment do you think we would have gotten? Do you think he would have gotten
Well,
freedom, or this last sentence, or a few years in prison, or you prefer a dialogue? Like, what exactly do you want?
I am actually not really that vast in law, so I may not really be able to be in a position to actually give that kind of verdict. But having gone through the mind of some lawyers that I know, I realized that the judgment against him is not unfair. Is actually not unfair. But the what many of them actually were saying is what Ajashegu and Mr. Ajashegu and Mr. Tunde has actually addressed earlier, is that you cannot sentence someone to life imprisonment and give another one 20 years imprisonment, considering the fact that they might be doing different things, but their end result is that they are causing trouble, they are taking lives are being lost, and all of those things. So if this person can get the right decision, the right judgment of a life imprisonment, and even if they decide to even kill him, maybe they declared death for him, this other person too should be facing similar judgment. So I think lots of Nigerians are not against the fact that he was given a life imprisonment. No, Nigerians are not against the judgment passed on Nnamdi Kanu. They are more angry at the judgment passed against the Boko Haram leader, which is 20 years imprisonment. Make it make sense. Because this 20 years imprisonment, the probability of him getting a presidential pardon is higher than Nnamdi Kanu that is on life imprisonment, though he too can get a presidential pardon. But if you look at the politics of this country, after Tinubu finish his tenure, and if peradventure he wins the second term, the next candidate is coming from the north. So the possibility of Nnamdi Kanu getting out of prison is very slim compared to this one that was given 20 years imprisonment. So if we want to be fair, we have to be fair holistically. Our judicial system should not consistently be disappointing us. As much as you can make a fair judgment in the case of Nnamdi Kanu, make a fair judgment in the case of these terrorists that are causing chaos in our land too. People are dying, man. People are. It's saddening. I don't know. Maybe because I'm a woman, it makes it more emotional for me. All right, seeing the situations that is actually going on in that part, and all we could. Oh God. I think I'll rest my case here. I don't want to get emotional online.
It is well. May God help us. So, bro, Ajasegun.
Yeah.
So, looking at IPOB members now, what should be the way forward for them? Should they continue their IPOB or the fight for freedom, for separation, or they just go lay low since their leaders are in the prison? What will you advise them as an IPOB member now?
To be honest, I don't agree with those who have um always asked to separate from Nigeria. Even for even Sunday ago, I'm not a fan of him asking for, you know, independence from Nigeria. And the reason is they've not they have he's been myopic. They're all been myopic with what they see. They need to go across the country. They need to leave their zone. They need to, I think their view is just about people who are representing Yoruba and people, the Igbo people who are in the south. They need to go to the north. They need to go to the core north and see people who are of Yoruba origin, who have been there, who have been there for years. People of Yoruba origin who have been there for years. They need to see people who are Igbos, who will tell you that they cannot go and they can never go, they can never live in the east. They need to see Igbos who speak both Hausa and Igbo. They need to see Igbos who have married Fulanis. They need to see Igbos who have married Hausas. They need to see Igbos who have lived in the north since 1990. They need to see Igbos. They need to see Igbos who their whole life, their children and everybody is up there. What happens to them? When you say liberation, you want to now separate and create your country. What happens to them? What happens to the life they have built there? What happens to the to and these are the issues that they begin to raise and now say that um you are not of pure um you are not a pure descendant of a particular place. So because of that, you cannot be able to contest and be in an election of that particular place. Like I said, Nigeria needs to move ahead of such ideologies. Right? Once you are an indigene of a place, you should be able to contest, irrespective of whether you are from Lagos and then your name carries an Igbo name, right? Come on, we need to move beyond those tribal sentiments and those religious sentiments. So for me, I've never agreed with that idea that some people should start their own country. I've never agreed with that. I don't think it will work. And all the countries that have tried it, that I have done research about, they are still more backward than ever, right? Sudan and South Sudan were together, and then they decided to separate. One decided to have its independence, right? And it even became worse for both of them. They became even more war torn than ever before. So I think that they need to follow suit with the idea of Peter Obi. Play the politics. Politics is a game. You don't blame the player, you blame the game. Politics is a game. Even Ojukwu eventually contested for presidency. Yes, the Ojukwu who started, and that's a betrayal for the ideology of IPOB, in my own opinion. He contested for presidency, and what it was a good thing is to show that there's no one way to be able to make your point. There's no one way to be able to have representation. There are other ways that you can be able to do it. Play the politics. I'm a big fan of Peter Obi. If he can remove the tribal sentiment and the religious sentiment, I don't want anybody to campaign in that line. I mean, one of the reasons why I didn't vote for this current administration, aside from the fact that I don't believe in what they stand for, is the fact that they didn't do a balance of religion. You understand? So I don't think that what they're asking for is a solution. I think they need to find a way to be persevering and play the politics. I mean, how many years, how many centuries did it take before America was able to produce its only black president so far? Took a long time, right? And it was worth it. It was worth it. So
Thank you so much. That was deep. So, to cap it all, we are almost done. Tayo, if you were to advise IPOB and the government, what will it be?
Well, if I am to advise IPOB and the government, I will say that um, IPOB should shield their right.
Tentacles.
They should be a weapon for now, and let's focus on the way forward for the country. Because in all honesty, for me, I don't want the country to be ceded. I don't want any region, any tribe to cede out of this country. All right. That is why for me, I'd rather the country is restructured. I'd rather the country is restructured and power taken, absolute control taken away from the federal. All right, let each state control their resources and build their state. All right, instead of sedation. All right, so I will say that the government should be more fair to the southeast. All right, I can understand their agitation. If I am from that part of the country too, I will feel that we are being marginalized. All right, though I don't think they are that marginalized the way they paint it, but for the longest of time, they really haven't tasted much of the power in the country. So I feel that they should be considered for the position. And having said that, I also feel that it is important that they play the politics and they play it right. Because in the last election, one of the reasons why I was not in support of Peter Obi was because he was toiling the line of tribe and religion, which to a sovereign country like Nigeria that has multiple religion and multiple tribes, it's actually dangerous. It's actually a dangerous way to toil, even though it looks like something that is popular, but it's actually not right. And despite the fact that this recent government actually had a Muslim ticket, the one thing they tried not to do was to be religious about their campaign, even though it was clear that they were actually favoring a particular religion over the other one. It was clear, but they never tried that part when it comes to their communication, all right, and what they try to preach about. And they are not tribalist. They try to move everyone along. And when they occupy the power, they put every region in their structure, which kind of show that to a large extent, every region, every religion, every tribe was actually well represented in their cabinet, which shows that they are trying as much as they can to portray themselves in the right light, which politically can be correct, despite the fact that the Muslim ticket is actually, I did not buy that Muslim ticket, in all honesty. And I will not lie, I did not vote for a lot of reasons, one of which I was not able to get my INEC card to my new location. So for I think that the government should have a roundtable with the aggrieved with the IPOB members, I think, and let them come to a consensus, because a peaceful Nigeria will go far in no time. Because the people from the east, you will agree with me that they are business gurus. They are the kind of people that might likely be able to push the economy quickly and faster because of their hustling nature. All right. So an average Igbo person is actually a very hustling person, and they ensure that they move their business really hard. Their business is actually their second self. So I think if we can have peace in this country for some consecutive years, you will see the drastic change, drastic improvement that we will have as a nation. So I think the government should have a discussion with them. And above much more than that, I think the government should restructure the nation. It is important we actually restructure this nation to feature every geopolitical zones for peace and for progress. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. I think we're able to do well on all the topic, the aspect of the conversation, the effect, the solution, and the causes of this Nnamdi imprisonment, and whether it's a fair judgment, how is it fair to the Southeastern people, the IPOB, and the Nigeria as a whole. So thank you all so much for joining. Thank you, Oga Olotu. Brother, thank you for joining. Tayo, thank you for being here too. I know your network, didn't come early, but for your little input, we appreciate it. Ajashegun, I think now I'm beginning to see you more political than Ajashegun has more political strength here. Thank you also for joining us. Thank you, everyone. Bye. We'll see you next week
All
again.
right, bye. See you next week.